In a world where silence grows, Big Rob and Nando break the mold. They bring the light, they share the pain. Through the struggles and the rain, they open up with stories deep. No mask to hide, no secrets keep. With every word they pave the way, for minds to heal, for hearts to say. In the Calm Mind Collective we find our voice. Rob and Nando, they give us the choice to face the truth, to see what's real. No more hiding, it's time to heal. With guests who share, with hearts that bleed, they plant the seeds for those in need. No more turning a blind eye. Rob and Nando ask us why. They talk of nights when sleep won't come, of battles lost and wars begun. They've walked the path, they've seen the strain. They're here to say you're not insane. Through stories shared, the fear subsides. No longer must we run and hide. With every guest, a tale unfolds, the truth of life, the pain it holds. In the Calm Mind Collective we find our voice. Rob and Nando, they give us the choice to face the truth, to see what's real. No more hiding, it's time to heal. With guests who share, with hearts that bleed, they plant the seeds for those in need. No more turning a blind eye. Rob and Nando ask us why. In a world where silence grows, Big Rob and Nando break the mold. They bring the light, they share the pain.
Hello.
Good evening. How are you?
You right?
Yeah, I'm good. You?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm
good.
Yeah.
I'm very good. No, I'm good. How's things been your end?
Yeah, no, it's been really good. Just getting back into the fold of things after having a lovely time away with you guys, which was really good. I had great fun.
It was good, wasn't it?
It was completely different to what I expected.
Oh, really?
Done paranormal investigations before, doing caves was slightly, a little bit more like, oh, this could be fun. This could be interesting. And I really enjoyed it. I liked until that idiot threw us out of the cave, because obviously you, me and Sarah were the only ones that were sitting there. But yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed the first part, the bit where we were getting a lot just by sitting in the front entrance of the caves.
It wasn't even that. Do you know, there's a lot of different opinions when it comes to ITC apps, isn't there? Like, if you think about it, you got Necrophonic, you got Spirit Tracker, and all of it, and we're always debating like what's real, what isn't. How much information is. But then we were using Spirit Tracker, weren't we? And some of the stuff that was coming out was very, it was to the point of where we were, and
it was almost spot on. It was almost like, when we were asking it to make a noise, and we heard all that noise down the bottom of the corridor, and then it came up and told you what it was doing on the Spirit Talker. It was a bit like, oh, okay, this is pretty intense. And then it just seemed to continue. The rest of the night seemed to go that way.
Yeah, well, it's even when we were sat, me and Sarah were sat on the little chair bit, weren't we? And you were sort of stood there, and then we were like, what do you want us to do? And it said, go forward. And you walked deeper into the tunnel, where the end of the tunnel, or the cave was, towards the next steps. And as you got there, the Spirit Tracker come back on, saying, throw in. And then suddenly you come back and said, there was a stone that was just thrown. So it was just like, now I know people might watch and other people might have an opinion, well, it feeds in the information of what you're saying. Well, we didn't actually tell it to throw anything. We didn't actually say, can you do something? It just come up with the word, and then the stone happened to...
if anybody knows Wookiee Hole, you've got bugger all signal there anyway.
Oh, mate, you think you can get a bus? And then I made the mistake saying, "Is there any kind of Wi-Fi in the cave?"
Yeah, that was Nando's highlight of the evening. What's the Wi-Fi code for the caves?
Mm.
Yeah, no, but it was good. And then when we went into the Hall of Mirrors, that was pretty like me, Sarah, and we started doing the scrying in front of the mirrors and stuff like that. That was pretty intense, but it was good fun, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to coming with you guys again because it'll be good. And obviously, I'm going to start doing some more paranormal investigations myself with Little Rob, but as well as with Louisa as well. So we're looking at Shepton Mallet. So which will be nice.
That's an amazing location. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant location. Yeah, we did that a few years ago, and some of the stuff. And I remember, I think it was Sea Wing, and I was with two other people, and we were walking, and we could hear something on the above level. So I don't know if you would call it the upstairs, whatever they called it, like. But I know it was on Sea Wing where all the prisons were, and we were going up one level. And as we were walking, a shadow figure literally just walked out of one of the cells. And you know what I'm like? I'm quite
Yep.
squeamish. I'm like,
You run
oh.
hills.
So it was just like, but no, well, to be fair, all locations are amazing. Like the ones, in my opinion, the ones that actually have proven fact history, and they're the best ones to go to. I think there's a few locations where I think are hyped due to movies, TV, but
Yeah, definitely. 30 East Drive, Conjuring House, places like that. But what a wonderful guest to have tonight that's probably visited quite a few brilliant.
amazing locations.
Yeah.
Like she's been to it, like going to Africa, because the last time I got to
Yeah.
speak to MJ, she had just come back from doing a
tour, yeah.
and the story she had was amazing. But then the last time I saw her, I think I was a bit drunk one night, and I accidentally ended your live impromptu.
You was very drunk, yes.
Oh,
you popped
I shouldn't have jumped on. I was like,
yeah.
I was so bad. I felt, and I don't think I've actually caught up with MJ since. So
I'm sure MJ will remind you about it now. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome MJ to the show.
Hello.
Hi guys, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm a little tired. I've just come from 2 days of investigating, and I've had about 8 hours of sleep in the last 3 days. So
wow,
this is a bit of a mess. A little bit tired.
Not at all. You always look perfect. Don't worry.
Ah, you're very kind. So you guys have been investigating. Was that
Wookiee
Hole Caves?
We went to Wookiee Hole Caves and the Paper Mill, and it was amazing location.
It's
absolutely
really cool. I was there not that long ago, so yeah, it's very cool.
Okay.
And we actually caught a figure sitting up in the. Do you know, like, I don't know if you call it in the circus room, but it's one of the room with all the blue chairs. There was two people sitting on the chairs, but behind them there's an actual figure sitting there that wasn't one of the guests.
Oh, it's really cool. I want to
I'll put it on Facebook. I have to send it to you guys.
Yeah, please do.
And you can actually see the eyes.
Yeah, you can. It's
the head shape and everything. And it was Sarah, that one of the guests that joined us. She sent it, and I'm like, and I'm trying. Do you know what? I try and debunk it in every way possible, because I know people are very quick to say this, that, and the other. And I was just like, is there any way? But there was no way that I could debunk it. And it was just like, wow. I won't be going back there on my own anytime soon. That was the first thing that comes to my head, was won't be going back. But yeah, MJ, I've got to apologise, because the last time I saw you, you were doing a podcast with Rob.
Yes, you were on holiday.
I was on holiday, but I was drunk. And as I left, I accidentally pressed the end stream by accident. And then
that's okay.
He told me off for it.
You know what? That is what holidays are all about.
I shouldn't.
I probably would have been in the same state.
My wife said, "Don't go on, because you're going to mess something up." And I was like, "Yeah, that'll be fine." But but how have you been since we've last spoken?
Oh my gosh, so busy, but really good. A lot of really cool adventures. I've been speaking at events around the world and working on more books. Yeah, I've got my clothing line up and all sorts of designs going on, and just non-stop at the moment. Yeah,
That's good. That's good. And you done a new show with Zak, didn't you?
I did. Destinations of the Damned.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it was interesting. I was actually hired to produce the show. And
Okay.
yeah, so I was one of the producers, and I wasn't supposed to be on screen. But I got roped into it because I've been investigating the Skirrid Inn. That's where I was this weekend. I've been investigating the Skirrid for about 15 years now. I love that place so much. And it can be really dark and it can be really lovely. They have a thing against witches there. And so I was basically asked, would you do a ritual in the bar area to see what you could conjure up? Like, is it going to bring more activity? I'm glad they didn't show the whole thing on camera. That would have been bad. But they sent me in to go and see if we could stir it up. And the night before we did the investigate, well, before I picked up the crew, my husband was actually attacked in our house by a really large black shadow figure that punched him in the face.
Oh, wow.
While he was sleeping. So he got hit in the face, screamed my name. I came bursting into the bedroom to see this shadow figure kind of move through the room, and it just disappeared into the wardrobe. My husband, for anyone who knows him, he is not into the paranormal at all. It terrifies him. Like, it's just not his thing. So he was pale, he was shaking, he was like, you're cleansing this house right now. And I was like, wow, this must have something to do with the fact that I'm planning to kind of antagonize the spirits at the location quite badly to see if we get that reaction. And then Carl got attacked the night before the investigation at the hotel we were staying at. And he became really violent and he was really badly affected. But we had captured, I don't want to spoil the show, but we had captured an EVP that kind of warned me about it beforehand.
Yeah.
And, you know, we went into the investigation, and what you don't see in the show, oh my gosh, they cut out so much. But we actually investigated the Skirrid Inn all night, and they didn't show any of the investigation, which is really frustrating.
Wow.
There was an instance with a shadow figure. It has been seen there numerous times. It has been caught on camera numerous times. And we actually witnessed it standing in one of the doorways. And we actually thought it was a crew member at first. So Carl said, like, who's that in the door? And I went, oh, it's just Andy, the sound guy. And Andy was actually stood behind us. And he was like, guys, I'm over here. We're like, wait a second. And we were counting the crew, and we were all accounted for. And there was just large black shadow figure there. It was a very cool investigation. We actually took cadaver dogs out there because of the stories about it being built on a Saxon burial ground and having other, you know, some of the victims of the hangings, because they would never have been able to be on church ground. They couldn't be buried on consecrated ground. So the back of the pub allegedly is where a lot of the bodies are buried. So we brought cadaver dogs out to see if we could find anything. And they actually did find something. They didn't even put that in the show. None of that was in the show.
That's crazy though, isn't it? Because if you're finding like real, because again, I don't know if it's just the way I think, but I think the paranormal has really shifted into a negative area.
It has.
Where, you know, there's a lot of negativity around it. Like people are not given real evidence, but then if you're capturing, why aren't you showing it? Because this is what the paranormal needs. It needs to show,
absolutely,
you know, how you're doing it and the evidence that you're actually getting.
Well, one of the main things that we were told as producers of the show is that it is not an investigation show. Okay. It is not an investigation show at all. They're telling you the dark histories of these allegedly cursed and damned places. So it was never supposed to be an investigation show. They just kind of brought in investigators for like 5 minutes of the show to see if they get anything, you know. So at some episodes they didn't have much else to go on, so they leaned more on the investigating side. To be honest, they didn't really have a set format for the show from the time we started filming. everything kept changing whilst we were on the road. It was like,
Wow.
oh, we're doing this. No, we've decided not to. Oh, we're going to do this. Oh, no, we've decided against that. So it was a very difficult show to work on because they were trying to find their feet and figure out what it was about in the first place.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely interesting to work on.
Okay, that's cool. And when's that out in the UK? Or is it out now?
It's out already. So it's on Discovery Plus here in the UK, and it recently aired on Really TV. So I'm pretty sure you can find it on Catch Up.
Okay, cool. That'd be good. I shall have a watch.
It's all right.
You know,
It's not bad.
What I would ask, because you've done quite a bit with TV now, you know the background, the works of it. But if you had your own creative freedom, and you could do anything the way you wanted, how would you produce a show for the paranormal to show? What way would you go about it if you had that creative freedom?
Oh my word, an actual real paranormal investigating show would be great. We haven't had one of those for such a long time. And like you say, things have shifted in paranormal TV. And I'll tell you why they shifted. Because in the beginning, when you had Ghost Adventures just starting out and Ghost Hunters and the like, and it was about capturing evidence, and it was about going into these amazing locations and telling people about the history and what's going on there. But then also it was evidence-based, and that's what people wanted. But then all these other shows started popping up, and everyone was kind of doing the same thing and going to the same locations. I mean, how many times as investigators, we always say this, we go, great, another TV show that's gone to Waverly Hills Sanitarium, another TV show that's done the Hellfire Caves, another TV show that's, because people are going to the same places all the time. And it gets boring, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone's done it. It's been done before. So how do you make it scary? How do you make it more enticing to people? All of a sudden, enter everything's a demon, right? You got the big bad demons. We're facing demons. We're not just looking for ghosts. Come at me, right? And so everything escalated. It's the same as like superhero movies and things where you have, in the first Spider-Man, you have one villain. By the third Spider-Man, you have like 6 villains that they're facing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, how do you make it stand out? And unfortunately, a lot of that is due to network executives that think, well, if we make it scary, it would, bring more viewers. So they've never done a paranormal investigation. They don't know much about the paranormal. They're just a network executive sitting in an office, and they're going, oh, yeah, make it scary. What they don't realize is how much that damage they're doing to the paranormal industry.
It's not just, sorry to interrupt, but it's not just damaging the paranormal, but it also, in my opinion, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but it disrespects the location as well.
100%.
Because I know people have feelings about demons, and that's another. But I don't believe the paranormal is actually that dark as what people are turning away from it because they don't like the idea of being possessed by a demon or. Exactly. Do you know what I mean? And I think it disrespects the location, and some of these locations are beautiful, and
I absolutely agree.
And people are not going because of the way they're represented on TV. I don't know if you agree, but
absolutely agree with that. And another thing that we're running into in the production side of things is that because people are doing everything's a demon, and they're not paying attention to the history, they're getting a lot of the history factually incorrect. They're making things up or twisting it to fit the show, which I think is so wrong to do that. You should be true to the location. You should be respectful of that location. You should be respectful of the spirits who are at that location and, their stories. At the end of the day, we're dealing with people on the other side who it might be traumatic for them. It might be, they're still stuck there because they're trying to have their story told. And if that brings them some peace, and if we can help them with that, well, isn't that why we investigate and help in the first place?
Yeah.
So you've got all of these shows that go in and they just get things wrong and they change things up. And then all of a sudden you have all of these locations. Once that show is edited, some of them very badly in some ways, those locations no longer want to let any paranormal people in because they've been ruined. They've been burnt by TV shows. And it's frustrating because I was a paranormal investigator before I became a producer. And I became a producer because I wanted to put real content out there, and I wanted to honor the stories. And so, to answer the question, what would I do for my own paranormal show? It's high time that we go back to basics and just have a real, raw, honest paranormal show that gives you the history factually, that, you know, tells the story of those spirits. And if you happen to capture great evidence, amazing. If you don't, guess what? We sit in the dark for 8-9 hours and talk to ourselves and not get a response. That happens, but people know it happens. So why try and fake it?
That's the exact point. The 2 points that you just made is being real to the location. But the thing is, people come and think we're going to go into a building and we're going to get a demon, we're going to get this, we're going to get that, and then you literally sat there for 6 hours of a night,
nothing.
and this is the reality of a real paranormal investigation. And people get upset when they're not getting what they're seeing on TV, and it's just like,
get 15
you need to be in the real world, you know,
right?
You know, it's like TikTok is one for a lot of like these new paranormal. Well, I don't know if you call them ghost hunters, paranormal, whatever you call them. But behind where we live, we got this place called the Grey Lady Mausoleum. It is a beautiful story. Basically, it was a couple that they came to Southampton and fell in love with an old manor house. They died. The husband died, so the wife built a mausoleum for him to be buried, so they could be buried together.
That's lovely.
But the coffin was too big for them to both fit in, so she had to have him moved out of there. But the story is now people go in there saying it's possessed by an evil nun, it's demonic, but when you look at the history, and I was because I take things like, you know, you got to be truthful, like you're saying, and I was speaking to Rob about it. There's nothing on the history books of any kind of nun or anything relating to that grounds. And I think that's the problem. I think people are starting to realize, though, that what stories are being put out there is not true, but it affects everyone in the paranormal. Like 100%. We're all put under the same umbrella, shall we say, because if one's faking it, then everyone's faking it.
Everybody is. Yeah, exactly. And you know, that's another thing. People that fake evidence, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. Like, what is the point of investigating in the first place if you're just going to fake it? You're only cheating yourself. And you're hurting the paranormal field really badly. You're hurting the actual research that's out there, because we're still considered a pseudoscience, and no one's going to take anything in the paranormal seriously if we don't do serious research. You know, and unfortunately, TV has a big part. I am a television producer. I host TV shows. I've worked in TV for years. And honestly, it's a great job. I love it. I absolutely love it. But it does a lot of damage. You know, it's a really fine line to walk between paranormal pop culture and actual research.
That's interesting, because there's a question from Freddie, and it goes, "Hello guys, I'll be watching whilst at work." I'll put it up on screen for you. He's put, "MJ, there has been a lot of negativity about Zak and his work. Did you have to think carefully about working with him in case your own investigations," and there's a bit more, "became under the debunker's radar?"
Yes.
Oh, that's a good question.
Really good question.
That's a good question.
So, honestly, Freddie, it's not just about Zak Bagans. Yes, unfortunately, he is one of the people who does get a really bad reputation because, again, everything's a demon. He is a great businessman. And let's face it, no matter what you say about Zak, he still has one of the highest rated shows in the world, and has done since, what, 2004?
Yeah.
Right? That's a really good career in the paranormal field and paranormal TV. And we all know television, you shouldn't take TV as, like, you know, that shouldn't be what your idea of the paranormal field is. TV is also entertainment. Yes. You know, it would be great to do something that's completely 100% real, that gets it all right. That would be my dream. I love that. But TV is for entertainment. Have I ever faked anything on television? No, because my reputation means more to me. And I don't want to cheat myself out of something. I don't need to do that. And I left a certain TV show because they asked me to fake stuff.
I remember that's I think that was a conversation that we first had together when I first got to
Yeah,
speak to you, and it is crazy because it doesn't just. It's not. It's the rest of your career. Like for as long as
exactly.
you do this,
Exactly.
it's like a stamp that like a tattoo that you can never get rid of, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's
Yeah,
100%.
once you've faked it, that's
So
it. Isn't it?
did I have to think about working with Zak? Yes, because you do become guilty by association, you know? So, and would it be Zak? Would it be any other TV show? I'm very careful with the shows that I work on because I've been burnt in the past where I've had a director go, "Oh, do you just want to say it like this? Or do you just want to do this?" And I went, no, I don't. This might be, 15 minutes of fame on TV, but a TV show doesn't define my career. I am a paranormal researcher. That is my full-time job. I'm not going to let one little TV show have me drop my. I don't care how much money you pay me for that, but I'm not going to drop my beliefs and everything I stand for so that you can get a great episode. That's not how this works. Well, not in my case anyway. So yeah, I mean, I've quit working on certain shows because I refuse to do that. That's my reputation means more to me.
No, that's cool. Oliver has asked. I love these now. Now Zak's coming up there.
Yeah.
Welcome, NJ. I see you recently worked alongside Zak. What is he really like to work with?
He's a very good businessman, as I said. It was like I said about the show Destinations of the Damned, it was finding its feet and it kind of hit the ground running. And so a lot of things were changing on the fly, which was a little frustrating because when you have somebody that's like, "Hey, I want cadaver dogs. Find me a specialist cadaver dog that we need for the shoot in 2 days."
Yeah.
And I run around panicking like, "Oh my gosh, I got to do this." And I get it. And then you don't even use it. I'm like, there's a little bit of frustration, but that's just TV in general, isn't it? Everything changes on the fly. He's nice, I guess. Like,
Yeah, because we've had Patty on the show, and she said he can be quite funny when he wants to be, but he can also be very serious when he has to.
yes, yeah. I mean, when you want something done right, and you're the executive producer of the show, and it's your name and it's your brand, and these are all things that you naturally want to protect. So when it comes time to work, you're going to be strict and you're going to want the stuff done right. I mean, I'm the same.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same with anything to do with my brand or whatever I do. I want it done perfectly and I want it done this way. That's it.
I think that's with anything that we do though, because
Yeah, exactly.
and especially with the paranormal,
Yeah.
there is a wrong way of doing it, and that's
Mhm.
down to attitude. But when it comes
Yeah.
to proper investigation,
Yeah.
I think we all need to be open minded. Everyone has their own ways of doing things that
Absolutely.
work for them.
Mhm.
Because I know for you as well, MJ, watching you over the years now and getting to speak to you a few times, you're very spiritual as well, and
Yes.
you use your own abilities in a lot of your investigations. And you had an amazing trip going across Africa. You know, do you use a lot of that in your own investigations when you're with guests, or do you tend to turn to technology because they can visual it better than? Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
so
Having just done this weekend, I was just thinking of this weekend. I do a little bit of both, to be fair. So I don't go in and go, "Oh my gosh, I'm picking up this person here and this there and this there." But I tend to lean more towards tech. EVP is my thing. I love EVP so much. I love being able to record their voices, because that is something that I can play for you and you can hear it.
definitely.
And so you get to experience that as well. So I'm clairaudient. I mean, I hear them anyway. And so I guess I tune in and I see if I can hear anybody, but then I use the equipment to record that so that I can make sure that everyone else can experience it. I do enjoy using both. But yeah, I do. I mean, I use witchcraft in my investigations. I've been practicing witch for 20 years. So I do rituals and investigations. I use crystals to create crystal grids to give them more energy. Oh my goodness, I use the same tech everybody else uses and then blend in some mediumship with that. I like using music and stuff in investigations as well. So, yeah.
When you're saying about using your own abilities, because when we look at technology, certain experiments we do,
Yeah.
we say that sometimes we could be opening a portal for them to come through, like the connection between the two worlds. Do you think you could become that portal then, where you're using your own abilities? Do you become like a portal for them to come through?
I mean, you're certainly allowing yourself to become a channel for them to come through. Yes. I feel like the word portal, people take it up wrong.
When I say portal, I don't mean about these creatures coming through.
Right. You'd be surprised how many people think that's what it is.
Okay, so maybe I need to rephrase it then. When I'm talking about portal, it's that connection between the two worlds where you're giving the messages out, or you're getting the stories from because I don't believe in all the insidious with the fingers coming out and all this. I'm on about the nice stuff and what I would say is the real stuff, if I'm honest.
I definitely do channel, do bring through messages or whatever information I'm getting through mediumship whilst investigating. I think it's important, if you have a medium on your team, to keep them away from the history of the location at all costs, to make sure they're a complete blank slate before they go in. Obviously, the rest of the team can know the information because somebody's got to verify it, or at least have one researcher on your team that would be able to verify that. And then that gives you more scope when it comes to doing different experiments, because now you have a medium that is a completely blank slate that can pick up whatever, channel whatever's coming through in the moment, but you have somebody that can verify it there and then. And then you have your investigators with the tech being able to document whatever's coming through. So if you have a medium that says, I'm getting the name Paul John Smith, and somebody in history knows that Paul John Smith, like your researcher knows that Paul John Smith was shot there in 1845, right? So they know, okay, this is a name. But then you have that name come through on an EVP as well. Well, now you have the trilogy. You've got psychic science and history, all validating something. I mean, isn't that the holy grail?
Yeah.
100%.
Right?
So when we went to Wookiee Hole, we got the name. I first of all got the name Frank.
Okay.
It then came through on the tech Frank, and then Sarah, who was with us, done a little bit of research, and she found it in the books that the guy was named Frank. So it was quite weird. That's, as you say, that's your triangle.
Yeah. So, I mean, the goal for a researcher or investigator should be to be able to tie in psychic science and history together. That's the three pillars of an investigation.
But then, flipping it again, the shift in the negativity with the paranormal, psychics is one of the things that people say, like clairvoyance, that they're all fake. They're just making it up as they're going along. And I try and understand, how can you say I know there's fake mediums and all that out there, don't get me wrong, but we're on about the genuine ones.
Yeah.
But I've been with Rob Thompson. I'd never had a reading before, and he gave me a reading, and he come up with a teacher's name that I've never referenced to my wife or anything. But how do these people? How can they say they're all fake? It's not, and they're just playing on people's emotions. And I'm like, that's not true. And it's always that battle, isn't there?
Yes.
Like, I believe in it, and then I'm stupid for believing that mediums and all this are real. Why is there so much negativity all the time?
Honestly, I mean, this is something that we struggle with all the time. So I grew up in Zimbabwe and South Africa. And as you guys know, I went back to Africa to go and do my book and all the research.
Amazing. Yeah.
And growing up in South Africa, people don't realize that we still have a Witchcraft Act in place. So when I was young, talking about mediumship was the biggest no-no. Like, we weren't allowed to speak about it outside of our family. And I say we because my mom's a medium, my aunts, my cousins, it runs in our family. So none of us would speak about any of this. None of us would speak about, my grandmother doing card readings, or the lady down the road that used to do crystal ball readings that we all used to go to, or that kind of stuff. You did not discuss it because in South Africa, you could get thrown in jail for doing a tarot reading. You can get 2 years prison sentence. Yeah, it's changed now, obviously, but that Witchcraft Act is still in place.
Wow.
So you can get a 200,000 rand fine, which is like 20,000 pounds
Gee.
fine, or 10,000 pounds fine, yeah, for doing readings and things, and you can be locked up. So we were never allowed to discuss it. And could you imagine, like a 7-year-old, not 17-year-old, I was 7-year-old when I was like, I was seeing things and I was like, this is normal. My whole family are like that. So I was raised with it. But then I go to school and I pick up on something at the school and I'm telling all my classmates, like, oh yeah, there was a lady that killed herself in the ladies' toilets. And I got suspended from school a few times for quote unquote telling ghost stories to other kids. And so because of that, because of my entire upbringing, it was don't talk about it. You're not allowed to. So when I moved to the UK, I never spoke about it. And I kept it to myself for years. I mean, I'd go and do investigations and do EVP sessions and all that, but I was always doing mediumship with it at the same time. And it wasn't until I released my first book, like 3-4 years ago, where I decided to tell my whole story, what it was like growing up as a medium in South Africa and that, and my journey, and hope that some of the things that I learned, hey, there it is. Never goodbye, only good night. Thank you.
It's all right. You're welcome.
But I wanted to teach people through what I learned. Like these were my aha moments. And so when I released the book, do you know what the first thing is that people said? Oh, now all of a sudden she's a psychic medium.
I was just about to ask you, was it one of those things that people have got to know you and then suddenly, because you're just telling your story, they're saying, oh, she's woke up one day, got out on the left side of the bed, and now she's a psychic medium.
Exactly. And so many people did that. And I was like, actually, I mean, if you actually bothered asking why I didn't talk about it, because my whole life I was told not to.
That's the thing.
And,
People are so quick to judge the book cover before actually getting to know the pages inside and what the story is. And that's the thing. It's so easy for, and I'm not, this is a, open, like these people that make videos saying this person's a liar, this person's fake, but you don't really know them as a person. You're only assuming based on small little clips. But this person's been in the field for over 20 years.
Yeah.
And like I said, you come from a country that it was a very taboo subject.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Africa, like your trip was very spiritual and everything. You met people that did rituals and everything. But why was that side of it, like the medium side of it, so taboo then? Because that's still a spiritual part of it, isn't it?
It is. So in South Africa, it's a really weird dynamic, right? So African cultures are very in touch with the spiritual side. So for instance, we have sangomas, witch doctors and the like in almost every village, and your local village will go to the shaman or go to the witch doctor or sangoma for readings. I mean, our government, the South African government, consults witch doctors when they're making decisions for the country, right?
Wow.
That is a different thing. That is their culture. It's their belief system. It's like you go to church on Sunday and you pray to God or Jesus or whatever you do, whether you're pagan or whatever. That is their religion. It's their belief system. So they are very in touch with the other side. They work with their ancestors. They consult their ancestors for everything. And, the ancestors will come through, tell them via mediumship or through a ritual of sorts. If I have a problem, I'm really sick, I go to my local sangoma, he will channel my ancestors and find out what's wrong with me and then mix a herbal remedy to cure that, because that's what the ancestors told him to do. Wow. Right? So it is really, really spiritual. Witchcraft is sort of the everyday norm for those cultures. However, obviously we know the history of South Africa with apartheid and all of that, right? It got really nasty. And so as a way to suppress people, they brought in the Witchcraft Act, where you were not allowed to be spiritual. You were not allowed to talk about it. You were not allowed to You couldn't talk about the other side. You couldn't do any of that. And it was basically forcing people to shut out their beliefs and conform. And so, which is why there's a big call for that Witchcraft Act to be abolished. So the Afrikaans side, now South Africa was founded by the Dutch. So the Dutch people are not into the other side at all, because it's a very strong belief that you should never consult mediums or seers or psychics, or you never commune with the dead in any way, because that goes against Christianity. It goes against religion, right? And South Africa they're a really religious country, extremely religious. So you have these people who are so steadfast in their beliefs in Christianity and the like, anything to do with the other side is a big no-no. And then you have the African cultures where that is everything to them. So it's a really weird dynamic. You can only practice as a Sangoma or witch doctor or psychic seer in the African culture if you are registered with the government. As long as you register with the likes of Zanata, which is the Zimbabwean Traditional Healers Association, as long as they know that you're doing readings and things, no, then you're good.
Oh, okay.
But if you're not, then no, you can be arrested.
Wow.
Right. It's really weird. It's such a strange dynamic over there. But yeah.
So when you come here, then it must have been like this big relief when you realised the culture was different, and
Yeah.
you
Well, that's
were
why I
able
live here.
to.
That's
And what was
exactly
it?
why I live here.
And you might not want to answer this, but what was it like? Because you said your husband's not into this
No.
anyway. So how did that come up in conversation that I can see things that no one else can? And what was his reaction, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I don't mind at all. So my husband and I have known each other since we were teenagers. I was about 12 years old when I met him.
Wow.
Yeah, he was 14. I married the boy next door.
Oh, that is sweet. That is nice. Everyone loves a love story, don't
Right.
they? It's absolutely great.
He is my world, honestly. We've been together for 20 years, and
Wow.
I could never do any of this without him. But I was the day he met me, his introduction to me, I was that new weird kid in town with the long black hair and really pale skin. And my family nickname was Wednesday Addams. So that was a great start to being introduced to the new neighborhood, And one of the girls that lived in our neighborhood decided she was going to introduce me to all the other kids. And they came over to my house, and Duncan was one of the guys that walked in. And I was sat teaching the kids in the neighborhood how to do crystal dowsing.
Oh, wow.
And he walked in and he was like, "Oh my God, what are you? Some kind of a witch?" I was like, "Well, funny you should say that." I have a very weird family. So he knew from day one, from the moment he met me, he knew what he was getting in for. And then, gradually as I developed my mediumship and things, a lot of it I developed more when I came over to the UK. I had a lot of great mentors when I first moved over here to the UK. And some of them I speak to, some of them, we've gone our separate ways. But every step of the way, he supported me. He was always there. There's a lot of new things that still pop up where I'm like, I didn't know I could do that. And he's like, wow, that's pretty cool.
So he sort of developed through the journey and seeing things.
He has.
Because again, watching you and watching, your journey, you've also had your challenges where your health was impacted quite massively. During that time, did you feel like the spirits were helping you through that as well? Because, that must have been quite hard what you went through, so did you feel like the spirit world sort of surrounded you with your healing, with your recovery and everything?
Yes and no. I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, for those who don't know. And when I was going through chemo, the first chemo session I had, my first reaction, unfortunately, my husband and them couldn't be with me at the hospital at that time.
Wow.
So I was sat on my own in this hospital receiving chemotherapy for the first time, and it's terrifying, you know, going through all of that. It's just, for anyone, it is the most terrifying thing I've ever faced. And I was sat there, and my first reaction was to tune into the other side, to my spirit guides or family, or because obviously, you know, you're going through something so traumatic, you think you've got all your family and that around you helping you on the other side. And my guide had said to me right before I started the chemo, like, we're going to take everything on the other side and pull it back. We're just going to push everything away from you because you need to focus on you. You have to heal. Like, you can't be worrying about that. You need to just put all your focus on your healing. And so I started getting the chemo, and I tuned in, and there was nothing.
Wow.
Absolutely nothing. And I burst into tears, and I called my husband, and I was like, oh my God, is this what normal people feel like? Is this what a normal person? It's so lonely. It blew my mind that I couldn't just tune in and be like, oh, hey, you know, there's, you know, my brother is on the other side, or somebody's there with me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have that. And so I was crying, not because I felt lonely, because I felt sorry for people who don't have abilities. I was like, oh my God, that's terrible. You poor guys are so lonely all the time. I just felt bad for everybody else.
So do you think going through that then it opened your mind like to another sector of being in that it can go away, they can choose?
Yeah.
So do you think they control your abilities, or is it you control your abilities then? We're going through something like that.
Oh my gosh, honestly, I wouldn't even know how to answer that question. I think it's a little bit of both. You know, if somebody doesn't want to come through, they're not going to come through. If they want to, if your guide thinks that you need to shut everything out and you're not listening to them, they will shut it off for you.
That's amazing though, that they can still have, it just shows how amazing the paranormal field really is. And it's not as scary. I think what I'm trying to show people is not what the TV portrays when it comes
definitely
to
not.
It's actually really good because you know people think, oh, psychomedia, you're going to let in evil stuff in it, but it's nothing like that, is it? It's really the opposite. It's a beautiful thing.
It really is. It can be scary at times. I mean, I currently have a twisted ankle because my mediumship failed me slightly this weekend, shall I say. Usually if something comes up a bit close to me on an investigation, I can clock it straight away. And I'm like, oh, I might not say anything, but I'm aware that it is there. You don't sneak up on me, you know?
Yeah.
And we were in the bar at the Skewered Inn doing an EVP session. I was sat in front of the fireplace, and something grabbed my bum. And I literally launched across. I don't know if I went past the table in front of me or over it, because it's a bit of a blur. But I was on the other side of the bar within the split second and twisted my ankle in the process. And it wasn't the fact that something touched me, because that happens on investigations. You know, it happens quite a bit. Some people just don't realize that something is trying to touch them. But it was the fact that it caught me off guard, that I didn't know it was there. It was like all of a sudden there was just someone like right here and a hand on my bum, and I launched.
Nando would have ran.
And well, it's caught on two different guests' cameras from two different angles. So I'm hoping that footage doesn't surface. It was really funny though.
Oh dear. So we've got another question, and it's one that me and Nando don't normally like to discuss, but Cheerful Honeybee is one of our moderators. She's been there through, so I'm going to put it up on screen. Watch Nando's face, because straight away he's going to go, oh shit. But yeah, she asks, debunkers are causing, there he goes, goodbye Nando. Debunkers are causing a stir in the paranormal field, with some taking to calling investigators names and bullying them. What are your thoughts on the debunkers?
Honestly, I think they're great. We need debunkers. We need healthy skepticism. Keyword, healthy skepticism.
Yeah.
100%, because there are far too many charlatans in this field. There are far too many mediums, quote, just fakers, cold readers, people who fake paranormal evidence. There are far too many of those in this field. And like I say, that gives the research a really bad name. For one, it gives psychic mediums, such as myself, a really bad reputation.
Yeah.
And I've done nothing to deserve that. Why should I be guilty by association? So, no, I think debunkers are wonderful. You want to debunk everything I do, or you want to, bring your skeptical side and analyze everything that I do? Please do. Because if you can debunk something, that means, and you can actually debunk it, not just name calling and, whatever the case is. But if you can prove that something that I thought was paranormal is in fact normal, there is a logical explanation for it, that means we are one step closer to actually defining the paranormal, to actually understanding what is paranormal and what isn't. And in the greater scheme of things, it wasn't that long ago that people thought the world was flat, right?
Very
And
true.
no one would believe any otherwise until it was proven that it's not. And some people still believe it's flat. Anyway,
It's
just
crazy.
saying.
That's another dynamic. Like
Yeah,
when you get into
we're
someone
not even
like,
going to get into that side of it. But do you know what I mean? Is that if you can take something that I've believed is paranormal the entire time, and you can give me an actual reason that it isn't paranormal, that there is this logical explanation, well, that means that science is one step closer to understanding it even more. So I welcome people to debunk. I love people who challenge what I do. I love, and I'm not saying come out and challenge me, please. I don't have time for every Tom, Dick, and Harry that wants to throw shade. But what I'm saying is that what they're doing, calling names and bullying, that is really not on. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't do that for any, industry or anything. There shouldn't be name calling. There shouldn't be bullying.
no,
Healthy skepticism, yeah, bring it on.
Okay.
and I think that's my thing with it is like you got to have a level head with the paranormal, because if we believe in everything, then we'll be crazy, because there's some elements of it, that they do mask their videos, they do add things to make it look something. But my problem is, and I think I say this as a parent's point of view, I try and bring up my kids to be respectful to, if you don't like someone, your best bet is don't go near them. It's the same. If you don't like what you're watching, there's so many other channels that you can go to.
Yes.
But is this, is this what we want to teach our kids to grow up and do? That is this really all right? Have an opinion, but don't have an opinion where you got to discredit someone's personality or who they are as a person for entertainment value. It's not fair to do it like that. And that's the thing. My kids love social media. They watch YouTube and that, but I don't want them to get grossed in thinking, oh, if these are adults doing it, it must be all right for us to. And I think sometimes you've got to look at the bigger picture. This is where kids start bullying outside because they see other people doing it online, these content creators that they follow and they look up to. Well, then you need to be responsible and set the correct values to the people that are watching, because you can't stop children from watching stuff on YouTube. So you got to be mindful of that. How easy, and I've learned this recently with my kids, and Rob are smart, but kids, they get their phones, they can fake their ages and everything, so they can watch whatever. So you got to be like, okay, I've got to still be the adult here and show it's not all right to do those sort of, and that's my problem with it. I steer clear of it, but there's a way of doing it. I agree. If I've made a mistake if I've put something up thinking it's paranormal and someone says, well, actually, I think it's a bit of dust, I'm good with that. And I've had people say that to me, and I'm like, that's cool.
I've had people really challenge me, and I've had scientists challenge me with certain things, and I've gone. They were like, well, I think we should have a conversation about this. Like, we need to sit down and discuss this properly. And I went, great. I love that. Are you kidding? And he was like, wait, but I'm challenging you. And I was like, yeah, awesome. Like, let's do this. Like, I'm not a scientist, right? I'm not a scientist. I don't claim to know everything, that side of things. I don't know everything about sound waves and frequencies. And I know my fair share, but I don't know the ins and outs of every single thing. So if you can debunk everything that I'm doing, or EVP, or you can explain it, you want to test my recorders, you want to, whatever the case is, please, because then I understand it better.
Yeah.
But then
And that
the
allows
other thing,
me to take that knowledge and share it with other investigators and essentially help the field. It moves us forward. It moves our understanding forward. So, yeah, and trust me, I've been bullied. I've had many trolls. I've had people trying to ruin my reputation. I've had name calling. I've had absolute crap stories that have been put out there about me. I don't let things get to me. It's
No.
each to their own.
do you think the paranormal field's made you harder then? Like, it's made you more robust and more like
Listen, I've
with
always
having
been a
the
little bit
control?
of a hard ass. I've definitely always been a bit of a hard ass. I grew up with older brothers, so way older than me. So I've always been a bit tough when it comes to things like that. But I choose not to retaliate in certain situations. No matter what you do, no matter who you are, if you're going to put anything paranormal out there, if you want to share your evidence or whatever the case is, you are going to be scrutinized. You are going to have people that force their own beliefs on you. You are going to have people who might just be jealous or just trolls that are just there because they're stuck in their parents' basement and they've got nothing better to do, right? So you're going to have people question your work or say nasty things. It's whether or not you choose to retaliate.
Okay.
I think karma does a much better job than I ever could.
Yeah.
Even sometimes I think she might need a hand, but
So Maria asked, and this could go for both of you really, because you both do group investigations. She says about like fakers in group investigations. So I'm asking Nando and yourself, have you experienced this?
Whoa. We're interviewing MJ. I'm not here to be questioned.
No,
I want to know what you have to say too.
Absolutely not.
You do obviously the portal, and like I went with you the other day, and you had about 40 people there?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. So have you ever held an investigation where you've caught people faking stuff? Well, I know you can't name names or anything, but
Oh no, I would never name names. I think you do. I don't know if you're going to agree with. You asking me first, or do you want to ask MJ?
Oh, you go first. Go first.
Yeah.
Go first.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's there's different categories of people. People that don't believe and want to be shown it's real. People that do believe and will go with the flow. And then you've got the people that believe it so much that they will push for anything to happen and they cause something to happen. That's my three stages. So if we ever do anything, if people want to do something with a Ouija board, right? The one thing we do as a team, we do not get involved in it, because then I do believe sometimes you've got those people that the planchette pushers that will purposely push for an answer, and the thing is, we as a team think it's really important. Any kind of evidence that we get is credible, that we can say this is raw footage that we're giving you, and it's not being, you know what I mean? So we're very careful about what we put out. And so if you look at our social media, it's very rare that we're putting out loads of stuff saying we caught this, we caught that, and I think that's what. And I think that's what's important, because I say it all the time when I do podcasts with people. Oh, we did an investigation. How did it go? Didn't get nothing. I'd rather be putting myself out there saying nothing happened at this location, but it doesn't mean it's not haunted. It doesn't mean that there isn't history there. It's just there's some nights better than others.
Yeah.
But yes, I do think you sometimes get people that come purely to just be disrespectful and push, just to take the mick because they don't believe it.
Yeah.
And people that want it so bad, or they know there's people around the table that want it so bad, they make stuff happen. And I think the other thing is you've got to be very, like, things like table tipping and, those sort of things that can be influenced. You got to be very careful to how the team get involved, because it discredits the team. Because the minute someone says, oh, it's the team member doing it, just to get people to come back. So we actually step back. Table tipping, Ouija boards, we don't get involved. We let them do it. So if anything happens, they can say, well, the team just watched us.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way.
So there's two sides to this as well. I completely agree with everything you just said, but there's also how you run your investigation, because you get certain teams, and there are a lot of them out there, that will host public investigations. And even though their team members stand back, when something happens, and it's almost like the witch hysteria, right? It's mass hysteria where one person thinks that they've seen something or heard something, and everybody all of a sudden goes, oh my God, yes, it's paranormal, right? And unless you can very calmly tell them, like, well, have you thought about this? Perhaps it was this. Perhaps it was that. And all of a sudden, it gets the entire group thinking, well, actually, maybe it isn't paranormal. Maybe we should question this first. Maybe we should try and debunk it. Maybe we should try and figure out whether this is paranormal or not. And it kind of puts a stop to that mass hysteria in investigations.
It brings them back down to the real world.
One question. Yeah. Even if you just, as a team member, stand back and you just throw out one question, just throw a spanner in the works. Like, yeah, but have you thought about this? And you can see it. You can see the faces as that information spreads through and people are like, oh, wait a second, but what if?
Yeah.
That's correct. I think one example that I can give of what you're relating to. So we were at a place called Groundlings Theatre, which used to be a workhouse for I think young boys. So the downstairs was where they keep all the young boys. Well, we're in the upstairs part, the main part, and we knew no one was downstairs. So we were doing an experiment, and one of the guests said, we see a shadow walking up and down. And I was, okay, so everyone's stopping, like, is there a shadow there? So we went downstairs to, we stopped the experiment, and I was like, okay, well, let's go and investigate to see if there was anyone down there or anything. As we come back up, you can see that there was a very faint light coming through the window that was causing the shadow to go across the doors with the and we were able to debunk it. And I was like, it's great that you picked it up, but if we're logical here, you can see that there's a really faint light coming through in the distance. So there must be like a lamp outside, but it was shining through and it was getting faded to make it look like some kind of shadow. So we will stop our experiments to find out, is it paranormal or isn't it? Like the picture I was telling you about with the
the person
I spent ages trying. I even sent it to a few people in the paranormal field, asking them, please debunk this for me before I put this on my social media.
I once captured a full-bodied apparition on camera, and it was amazing. It was this fantastic piece of footage. We were at the Explosion Museum in Portsmouth. And there's this really long corridor, and the doorway at the end of the hall leads into the Grand Magazine. And so I'd placed static cameras, triggered cameras, the wildlife ones. I'd pop them all around, so in all the hallways, just in case something walked through, right? And we were moving from one area across that corridor into the base room. And I heard something in the Grand Magazine, and I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure I just picked up on something there and heard it. And so I turned with my camera, but because I've walked past, I triggered the camera facing that doorway. And so I have my camera angle and the other camera. And on the trail cam, you see an apparition of somebody step into the doorway and disappear in the middle of the doorway. And I was mind blown. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, what a freaking capture, right? I was so excited. And my guide went, it's not real. It's not an apparition. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to try everything to debunk this now. I watched that 7-second clip for about 12 hours. I just kept playing it and playing it, like trying to figure it out. I watched every camera angle. I synced all the different camera angles. And I realized there was actually another investigator in the Grand Magazine at that time.
Oh.
She had heard me. I had heard her. So we both went, oh.
We were both, yeah.
She stepped into the doorway to see who was in the hallway. And another investigator behind her had turned the IR camera. So it illuminated her stepping into the doorway. And then they panned their camera away and it took away that extra IR light. So it made it look like she disappeared. Because the camera at the end of the hallway didn't have enough of its own IR light to illuminate her in that door frame. And I was so upset that I debunked it. I was like, damn it!
It is.
I could have put that out, and no one would have realized that it was just another investigator. But I couldn't do that. I could not do that to myself. I was like, I know it's fake. I know it's just another investigator. I could not bring myself to put it out there.
And it's so easy to get carried away when you think you've got something so great, but
Exactly.
reality hits. It's like we did I don't know, do you remember when we did Merrily House, when Brian come from Canada? We were up in the attic and we were filming and we got what we thought was a woman's voice, like clear as day. And we were listening on the recorder, we were listening to it on the camera, and we were so like, this is an actual voice of a woman in the attic. Once we started looking at all the camera shots, we realized it was actually one of the other investigators that had this weird ass sneeze. He sneezed, but by the time it got to the microphone on the camera, it sounded like a woman's, and you just see all like the oomph, like, damn, we thought we had a golden nugget there for a moment.
And we actually name him. It was Lex.
It was Lex, yeah.
Lex Paranormal.
Lex Paranormal. But do you know what? But it just shows, and this is what I try and say. That's what I think is important to show people, that we do think sometimes things are paranormal, but we do check and realize actually it wasn't paranormal. It was a light or someone sneezing.
It is easy to get caught up in the moment. And that's why it is so important that when you do capture something, you need to take that moment to just stop, process what just happened, and let's think logically about what else could that have been.
Yeah,
definitely.
We had that this weekend. There were a few times where in one of the upstairs bedrooms of the Skirred Inn, there's a wardrobe. And if they slam a door downstairs in the bar, it rattles the wardrobe. But it rattles it to the point where the wardrobe door will open.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, like, there's things to consider here. If a truck drives by, that vibration, the way the door is, it's going to open the door, and et cetera, et cetera. So we were like, okay, well, you know, it's clearly knowing that this door's open on the wardrobe because they've taped them with duct tape to kind of keep them closed. So I was like, right, so let's put fresh duct tape on. I brought my own. I'm sticking duct tape on that. I want to make sure that it is nice and fresh and really sticky. And if that thing rips open really quickly, yeah, and there's no door slamming or anything at the same time, you know, so, but these are all things that I wanted to try. And we ended up hearing the coat hangers inside the cupboard moving, like a lot of noise. But when we opened the wardrobe doors, none of them were moving. So we kept checking everywhere. But then we had the wardrobe door fly open, the REM pod go off at the same time, and we captured an EVP at the exact same moment. Oh. That's where I was like, okay, like we've already looked at this situation. We've already debunked that a vibration will open those doors, that this will happen, that will happen. We know there are logical explanations for this. But how do you explain the door opening on command, the REM pod then going off in front of the door and capturing an EVP? Now we have more things correlating with one piece of evidence, you know, like everything's coming together. That's what you're looking for. But it's so easy to go, oh my God, we heard the coat hangers rattle or the wardrobe door opened, because you're excited and you don't bother debunking why.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to get caught up in those moments.
It is definitely easy to get caught up. No.
Cool. That was outside my window, I think.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I was going to say, that wasn't mine.
And Nando shut himself.
I have been on a couple of podcasts where people have heard a male talking in the room next, like with me, and there's no one here. Or there was not even people in my house, and I didn't even hear it my side.
We did when we first did the podcast together. The first one we did. It was. We were talking about what were we? No, I just showed you a clip about, because you were just putting out your clips about the trip to Africa.
Yes.
And then we started talking about the African culture, and as you went to said something, I was like, I paused you, and I was like, "Is someone in the room with you?" Because a very strong male voice come through, and it literally stopped. And then we sort of paused. MJ started looking around, and then I'm looking around to see if there's anyone in my room. And then I totally lost track because I didn't know what else to say, because the voice was really like, it was like
it's
in the microphone.
Like crystal clear.
In the microphone.
Yeah.
So that.
Hey, I thought it was with you.
It was. Because I literally lost my trail of thought, and I was just like, I can't remember, what was it that it said? I can't remember, but it was. You started talking about Africa, and then suddenly this voice just come through, and literally your voice dipped out completely, and like a man's voice just rushed through your mic, and I was just like, MJ, did you not hear that? And then I think you
I was
did
like,
hear
what?
it, but
Yeah.
mate, it was one of
Yeah,
those moments.
it happens a
Bye,
lot.
MJ. I'm quickly going upstairs now.
That happens a lot, and it's because of a couple of the haunted objects that I have in this room.
Yeah.
So they tend to talk as well every now and again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, I just have to say that I think that's has to be one of the best podcasts we've had for quite a while. To be fair,
Oh, bless
Yeah.
you, that's so kind.
you know, I really enjoyed tonight.
So did I.
I-
Thank you.
I think what's good with you, MJ, you're not scared to tell things as they are.
Oh,
Like
no, I'm just
sometimes
grateful.
there's certain questions that come up, as we saw in chat, and
Yeah.
you know, people try and find a way round it, you know, instead of, but you just say it as it is, and I think that's what's great about you,
Because I have
especially.
no filter.
Yeah, but a lot of people, because you work in TV, and I think I said this to you before when we first spoke, is just because you're on TV doesn't mean it's going to change who you are as a person.
Not at
And no
all.
one's going to stop it. And I think that's what we get, an honest, and people can see actually TV can be quite an honest place to go to
It really
if
can.
it's done right.
You know, there are other people in this field who, like me, have quit TV shows and things because they've been asked to fake stuff.
Yeah.
You know, or because they don't agree with the direction that the show is going, shall we say. I've actually got quite a few friends in this field that have worked in television, and it's a cool gig. I don't know, maybe this was a discussion that came up this weekend. I've never been in this for the fame. I've never been like, oh, I want to be a paranormal celebrity. I'm not like that. I don't walk around going like, oh, look at me. This is, you know, I'm like, hey guys, this is what I'm doing. Who wants to come with? Like,
Yeah.
let's do this. Let's have fun. Let's
Yeah.
go on an adventure and explore. And yeah, so I tend to be very straightforward and have no filter most of the time. I'm surprised I don't swear when I'm doing these things, because usually I swear like a trooper.
You're keeping it real. That's the
Yeah.
thing. And I think that's what's nice, to have someone that's real and saying things as it is.
Yeah.
I've seen that you guys are interviewing Jeff Belanger on, is that on your podcast?
Next week.
Yes. Oh my god, I love that man so much.
He's such a great storyteller. I watch his he sometimes does lives and he's telling stories, and do you know what, it's the adventures that he's been on, not just the paranormal, like climbing Kilimanjaro and things like that.
Yeah.
And it just blows my mind. And I'm really looking forward to having a chat with him, because it's not just about the paranormal, it's just all the other stuff that he's done as well. So I think that would be quite a cool chat to have with him.
He is one of the most real people in this damn field. I love that man.
And he seems so fun as well. He doesn't mind having a, you know,
he is.
You know, he just seems to have a laugh with everyone, and I am excited to have a chat with him.
Have you interviewed Richard Estep?
No, I'm going to be interviewing him in August. I spoke to him 2 weeks ago, and
that man is like family to me. He's wonderful. That is a fantastic author, guys. Oh, Alison, hi. Oh, that's very kind. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in.
We've done really well today. I think we've streamed everywhere.
Cool. That's great. I'm going to share this out as well. I didn't get a chance
We've been on TikTok live tonight.
Oh, awesome. I need to follow you guys on TikTok. Listen, I'm like an 80-year-old woman with TikTok. I'm like I'm terrible. I'm awful. I'm like, how does this
just
work?
do a dance. It gets
Honestly,
you lots of viewers.
Yeah. Right? Apparently this is the thing.
do a little TikTok dance.
We need to do this again.
Definitely.
I'd love to be back on your show in the near future. And I see Kim Sage in Virginia, who, by the way, you should have Kim Sage on your show. She's a wonderful psychic medium. She says, ask about
that was what I was going to end on this one. Yeah. So.
Oh, cool. Well,
ask about
I do know how much time we have. I'm good with time. So, I love metal detecting.
Metal detecting with the. Is it the one that I've just bought my wife? She loves it as well, and she goes.
It's like like a proper metal detector, and you go like
Yeah,
in
we went
fields
for a
and
walk
stuff.
this weekend, and we went to,
Or the
and
beach.
she's there scattering the beach to see if she can find anything.
Yes. I love it. I love it so much. I like treasure hunting. So as a child, I always wanted to be an archaeologist so I could go dig up treasure. That was it. That was my thing. I was like, I'm going to go find the lost treasures of Egypt. And so I used to do this really weird thing as a kid where I would draw my own treasure maps in my garden.
wow.
You know, like as any kid, like 10 steps to the tree, 3 steps this way, 4 steps that way, X marks the spot. Problem was that every time I dug where X marked the spot, I would find
Oh,
something.
wow.
And my parents were like, all right, you are a weird child. They're like, how do you, I would find like this crystal vase, like all sorts of weird things, but I would always find a treasure, no matter where I drew my treasure map or where I was. And so when I started metal detecting and that, I was like, what about psychically tuning in? Because objects have energy. So can I tune in to the objects underground and then use my detector to pinpoint them and then dig up the treasure? So I was like, oh, this is a cool experiment. And I started doing that. I started tuning in and seeing where the energy felt different just above the ground. And then I'd use the detector to go and check it out. And I was at Belgrove Plantation, which is the home of President James Madison, the old slave plantation in King George, Virginia, with Kim Sage. Well, actually, she called me and I was just like, what are you doing? I'm like, psychic metal detecting. Want to join in? I was like, you're psychic. Come see if you can find stuff. And so I went with another friend of ours from Fredericksburg Paranormal, and we walked the grounds. It is seriously the coolest thing, right? We walked the grounds of Belgrove Plantation, and every now and again, I was like, oh, there's something there. And John was like, where? I'm like, you see that rabbit over there? He's like, yeah. I'm like, it's under the bunny's butt. The rabbit is sitting on it. And so we kind of scooched it off, and we used the metal detector, and we dug and found stuff. And we started finding these really cool artifacts that had so much to do with this history of the location. For instance, at the front gate, I tuned in, but I saw a gentleman, one of the slaves, standing by the gate, and he kind of just pointed and he looked down towards the side of the gate, and I was like, is he trying to tell me there's something buried there? I'm like, that's pretty cool. So I was like, John, let's do this. And we walked to the end, to that gate area, and I was like, right here, there's something here. I can feel the energy, and it's really, really strong. And so we started digging, and we dug a massive hole. It was quite deep down, but we pulled out a slave chain with the collar that would have been attached. And then the slave told me that if they misbehaved, they were chained to the front pillar of the gate, and they were left there all day. And it was one of the original slave chains with the collar found at the gate. Yeah, it was really intense. And so that is now in the artifact museum bit at Belgrove Plantation. But we found all sorts of really cool things. So I had Kim come out and do some psychic metal detecting with me, and it was really, really fun. So that's something I am working on as a sideline project. I'm looking for a very particular lost treasure, and I'm trying to psychically find it. And yeah, so it's been a really cool project to work on. I feel like I'm getting closer to it.
You'll have to let us know if you find it.
But yeah, weird psychic metal detecting thing. It's super fun. Like if you are watching this and or you work with a psychic medium, get them to tune in to what's just below the surface level and see if you can detect and see if you can find anything.
I need to get you to come down here with Sarah, and you and Sarah can go out with your metal detectors, and you can do and see what you can uncover. Oh my, that sounds great. Sarah would love that.
Yes.
But no, it's it's been absolutely great catching up with you, MJ. It is always lovely talking to you, and it's great seeing all the stuff that you're doing in the paranormal with your stuff. But do you want to just give a bit of a shout of what you got coming up and where people can find all your stuff?
Oh boy. Thank you. Yes. So you can grab a copy of my 2 books. You've got Never Goodbye, Only Good Night. I've got Beneath the
one I've
African
got to get
Skies.
next.
National.
I've got to buy that next.
Honestly, I'm really happy with how this turned out. There's some great stories. It's awesome. You should go watch the other podcast that Nando and I did. So yeah, you can grab these on Amazon or pretty much any bookstore, I guess. And everything that I do is on my website. It's just mjdickson.com.
All of MJ's links are on the video profile, so I put them all on Patreon as well. That's all on there. So
thank you so much. Yes, I have a Patreon page where I share all my blogs and research and stuff, and we hang out and do Zoom evenings and movie nights and stuff. But yeah, everything's on Sage Paranormal. You can find Sage Tribe clothing. I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited. I have paranormal themed clothing, and there are ghosts and aliens and all sorts of things. So if you fancy a really cool t-shirt or hoodie, I got you. I got some really cool designs. And I've released my paranormal card game, which is an absolute riot to play. It's super fun. It's called Paranormal Profanities. Have you played Cards Against Humanity? Yeah. It's a really, really filthy Cards Against Humanity, but it's paranormal themed.
Cool. I'm gonna have to get that.
Yeah, I'm thinking that now.
I'm taking pre-orders for them, so if anyone does want to order a deck, they will be ready in a couple of weeks. They're being printed at the moment.
I'll send you a message afterwards, MJ.
Yes,
I'll send you a message.
Send me a message. You can message me on my Facebook page, just at MJ Dickson, at MJV Dickson, Ventures in there, or just email me mj@mjdickson.com, and I will hook you up with a deck. It's so much fun. We played it this weekend, and we set an extra 8 cards aside for whoever was on the other side that wanted to join the game during our investigation. We actually captured EVP saying, "Play my card," or "Pick that card."
Oh wow!
Yeah. So it's not just a game. You can use it for investigating as well. I'm actually trying to sort those EVPs and things out once I've slept. I would love to share those online, because listen, it's not every day you can say you played a card game with a ghost.
Yeah.
And they interacted. You got EVPs. Cool. Also, they won. A ghost beat me at my own card game. I'm not too sure how that actually happened. But yes, it's very, very cool. Everything's on my website. Please check it out. And thanks again.
Definitely will do.
Thank you very much for coming on the show, MJ. It's been a pleasure as always.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be in touch, and I'll definitely message you about getting a deck of cards as well.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe if we all did one, we could do a live stream of us all playing this card game and see what happens.
That is a great idea.
Get a few people on, and then we can all have a game and see if anything weird happens throughout the live stream.
That
is a really cool idea.
I'm up for that.
Very cool.
Definitely fun.
I love that.
I think that would be a good little stream. I can imagine if anything happened my end, I'll be out of the stream very quickly. But let's give it a go. Yeah. But no, honestly, MJ, it's been great catching up with you. It's always lovely talking to you, and we'll definitely keep in touch.
Yes,
please
we
do.
won't leave it for long.
Together sometime. Come on.
Yes, we will. Yeah, we will.
Definitely.
Okay.
I'll put you in the green room, MJ.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
See you later, MJ.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, that's lovely to have MJ back.
So, do you know, like I said, and I wasn't just saying it because she's on screen with us, she is so down to earth, and she speaks the truth.
Yeah.
And I think it's just great, someone that will give us an honest answer, and, you know, and she understands where we're coming from about paranormal investigations, and she tells people as it is.
Yeah, and really good questions. Especially, I'm always a little bit dubious when I see that word. That word, the debunker word. I'm like, oh god. But actually, it went really well. I think like the questions weren't aimed at any particular debunkers, and the way it was put and the response, I think it just about sums up what we all think anyway, which, yes, we do.
I think MJ went the right way, and the way she answered it was the right way of doing it. And I think sometimes, yeah, it is good to debunk work and be real about it. But there's a way of doing it, and I think AJ sort of MJ answered it in the perfect way.
Yeah,
But it was a good show. It was
no,
a good
I
show.
really enjoyed the show. So I've got it's my sister's birthday today, so I would like to wish my little sister
Birthday.
happy birthday. So happy birthday, Carol Potter. In it, not Harry Potter, but Carol Potter.
All right, Carol.
So
Happy birthday, Carol.
I'd like to say that. And I've had a special request, so I need to find this. So I'm going to put this up first. No, this one. So this is my housemate Danny has requested that. So I am not taking the blame for this at all. And if my door suddenly barges open, the live stream will be cut because they've just come back from their birthday dinner. But I would like to wish Thomas a very happy birthday. The photo was provided by Danny. So here it goes. Definitely nothing to do with me. That really isn't. That's captured Thomas very well. So I'll take that off screen because I think I might get killed.
That's not cool, man.
Oh,
happy
dear.
birthday. Happy birthday.
I can't wait. My birthday's in Christmas. There'll be no live feeds. So yeah, next week we have Father Bob on the show.
That'd be a good one.
Different insight, and then that will be our last show on the paranormal for a while because we go into our new era. Oh, I just heard some laughing in the other room, so I think his picture's just popped up. So we go into our new era of roasting, and I don't mean potatoes.
But roasting in a good way.
In a nice way. Not in a
we're just going to talk about things that we don't agree on and see where it takes us, really, isn't it?
Yeah. And Kim, we would definitely like to get you on the show, so I will send you. Yeah, I don't know if you're on Facebook, but I'll find you through MJ, and we'd love to get you on the show and have a chat to you as well. Where can I find you next week, Nando? Apart from on here?
Next week, what's going on? So the team are going back out to Merchiston Hall on Friday, the 21st of March. Great location with a lot of history. And yeah, we've always had some really good responses there. So we're looking forward to going out there. And then I've got 2 podcasts coming up. One with Jeff Bellinger. He is the 28th of March. And on the 26th of March, I'll be speaking to Emily Paranormal. So I've got them 2 coming up. So
nice.
It'll be a great chat. But yeah, other than that, just having some fun with you and, just enjoying it.
Yeah, no, that's it. So I've got a podcast next week, and then I'm coming down to do an investigation with you in your hometown.
We're going to go to the Grey Lady Mausoleum.
We are.
Like I said, my thing with the Grey Lady Mausoleum, it is such a lovely story. The history is nothing but a true love story, which is being taken over by not necessarily fake, but misguided information. I would say, there's things that they're saying about the land that is not true, and there's no evidence to support it. And I just want to draw it back to this is the actual story of this location.
Yeah.
And just give some truth to it. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
That's cool. Well, on that note, I think we shall end.
Laters, everyone.
We'll put you in the green room. We'll have a chat with MJ, and then we'll all go our separate ways. But thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and we will see you all next week.
Next week.
God bless. Big Rob out.
Bye.